Hey, this is Nick from Remedy667.com, where we got the best horror fonts on the entire internet. And right now, you can check out our 31 days of horror fonts on all kinds of platforms, but at Remedy667.com, you can go and look at a bunch of typefaces that we're working on, pick your favorites, vote for them at the end of the month. We will be making those into complete fonts. Maybe we'll do it on YouTube. Who knows? Today, we're going to be taking a look at Horror Font Fridays, The Devil's Nightmare. And this is some pretty interesting lettering that we have here. And the alphabet's not really complete, but I think it should be pretty interesting. And these letters are so off-kilter that I am pretty excited. I think there's going to be some good stuff happening here. So we're going to go ahead and see what we have to work with. This is so interesting. Oh, there's a ligature. So let's cut. Whoops. I'm going to zoom way in. It's been a super busy week this week, as it is October 3rd. We have been doing 31 days of horror fonts, like I said. It's going pretty good. Whoa, so the D, looking at these ends, these are totally different. Otherwise, everything else is just kind of compressed, for lack of a better word. So I'm actually gonna compress that a little bit until that angle on that L matches that M, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the D until it kind of fits into the E a little bit there. And you know what, didn't do too bad, but it did a little bit of weirdness here, so I just want to trim that down so it's not too pointy. You can do whatever you want if you're following along at home. O, T, O's over there. I'm totally making a mess of this. Look at these E's. They're all different. They're all over the place. Out of control. All right, so this is what we got for letters. Pushing those out of the way. So I'm going to assume I'm going to get everything on the same baseline. You can see that is following the rules of the ascender being slightly higher. I think I still want it compressed like that. The F and the I similar. The E is going to get a little high there. The D, because this is pointy, it's going to have to extend a little beyond to make it look proper. This C is so peculiar. I wonder if there would be a different version of the C if it was next to the D like that. Because see, oh, but the N kind of goes in there next to the O and like that next to the A. So there are going to be variables in this if we do end up taking it all the way to the end. It seems like, and don't quote me on this because I might not actually do it when, when it becomes finalized, if it does. But it would essentially need to work like a script font. Like, so you have characters that start at the bottom, characters that start from the middle, and characters that start at the top. So you essentially need like 3 versions of each letter, depending on what letter it ends up next to in sequence. And that's a whole nother headache, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We are too busy doing this. And I'm gonna, I know seems weird, change the angle like that. I'm duplicating the R because while I'm over here, I'm gonna make it into a P. And I'm also gonna bring it in a little bit there because that's how it's gonna behave next to an O or any other like character that extends from the center like that. So the D, like if you're writing the word mop or inept, that's not right. That PT. I can't think of a word that goes D to P. I'm gonna grab at this real quick just to keep it even. So see, I was already with my eye, and I'm not trying to get it perfect, but I do want it to get to be close. So when I do get to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm bringing it in, it's not going to be like, what? Oh. And this is the Q. That is wild. Now, because a lot of these characters are really weird, some stuff that's kind of usually low-hanging fruit, like an S maybe, is actually probably going to be pretty complicated. But we're going to skip the S for now, because we're taking it easy. Slimming this down. Oh. There we go. So that is our U, which functions a little bit like a V, but our V is actually going to be brought to you by the letter A. And we'll use that M again to make a W, because that doesn't get much more W than that. But we are going to have to redraw a lot of it, because it's literally the same character. So we've redrawn quite a bit. Well, I mean, not like setting the world on fire over here or anything, but that should hopefully make it different enough from the M. All right, I feel like the B, as foolish as this sounds, should be the E, but reflected. and with an I in it. That feels complete for some reason. Probably shouldn't have been that easy. You know what? I think that I'm just going to extend the top. Not the bottom. Because I want it to function kind of how the C does. How like the C extends in the bottom but not the top. E, F. This is going to become the G. And as the G, I'm going to use the F. And I'm just going to cut it right down the middle. And what's going to happen is that's going to go there. That's going to be the base. And I think I need that to go up a little bit. All right, so we're going to trim that part and trim that part. And then we're just going to run with this. Bring it out a little bit. Ah! No! There we go. That brings the G together pretty nice. Sorry I didn't really explain what I was doing there. I was just kind of like, everything's falling apart. That happens sometimes. All part of the catastrophe. And the F. So the JK, we always put off. I'm going to angle that G, that H a little bit. Really, so nothing left but tricky crap. All right. I have an idea for the S. I think we'll start with. And I got a couple different ideas. So one of them is just this E and just trimming it. You knew what I was going to do. And then I'm going to extend that past the base a little bit. Does that feel right? I guess it does. That's weird. I am gonna like change the angle of it a little bit though, just to make it a little thinner, because when I stretched it, it just felt a little off in that direction. So I think thinning it out is going to make it make a little bit more sense. Apparently that was easy. Now let's make the K. I'm going to reflect this C. Is that too weird? That probably was too weird, but you know what? Does that need to come on a little bit? Ah, no, that's smoothed out way too much. That looks good. Our J, we're going to make from the U, because we do. And this is honestly also going to seem kind of easy, but it's not going to work like that. It's going to work like the C did in those. So it's going to come down like that. And how it thins out there, that kind of echoes some of those other characters. Looks pretty good. All right, X, Y, and Z. Now, you know, I usually start with the Z because it's an E and an N, but the way this whole thing's kind of working, I don't think that's necessarily going to work. So I'm going to make the Z from the L and the F and the N. So we're going to rotate this. Cut these up. Rotate that. We transform, reflect on these two. And that's pretty much the same concept as building it the way we normally do. Something about that Z don't feel right. Flip it. I think it's the center of the N. It just has like this warp to it. This is going to seem a little unconventional, but I have an idea. I'm going to turn it this way. So you see that warp happening? We're just going to select that. And we're going to Effects, Warp, Arc. And we're just going to set this into the positive, but just a little bit. Just bending it into shape. Okay. And then Expand Appearance is going to make that so now that's the new shape of it. It's still a little warped, but I think it feels a little less like it's about to fall over, which is sounds like a weird thing to say, but I think that that's a pretty common thing, especially in type design. If you want to like, why does this, you know, what feels weird about this letter? And if it looks like it's about to fall over, that's not good. All right, we're going to use the U and the T to make our Y by moving that bottom up. trim that across. And that gives us a pretty good looking Y. That fits pretty well into the Z. Now we need to make an X. And you know what they say, you can make an X with a K. So here we go. But I have another idea for an X. I like the idea of making it with the K, but I also have an interesting idea. Hear me out. Making it with 2 O's. And this is literally like a multiply sign. Group. I know I'm like duplicating this a million times, but I'm just trying to try out some ideas here. So I'm going to put that suave looking base. All right. Enough of my babbling. You know what? I'm gonna hold on to these just in case I need them. I'm gonna hoard these broken letters. So here we go. The Devil's Nightmare. Let's throw it into our hide that. That's a mess. Let's see. This is probably going to need to go like 4 high. So group, oops, V, group. That's what happens when you hold command down. Yeah. Because it does that half select thing. All right. There we go. Horror Font Friday. Another one in the books. So go check us out at remedy667.com, where we are doing 31 days of horror fonts. You can vote. You can look at some random crap that we're working on. We're also having a sale. You can buy some fonts for your fun Halloween projects. And I will see you next Friday for Horror Font Friday.